In a small town nestled between quiet hills and forgotten roads, two boys grew up side by side, Ethan and Ryan. Their friendship began in childhood, long before either of them understood the meaning of loyalty or betrayal. They were inseparable, classmates, neighbors, and dreamers who shared the same vision, to create something meaningful, something that would make the world remember their names. Ethan was the thinker, calm, curious, always sketching ideas on scraps of paper. Ryan was the talker, charming, confident, the kind of person who could make anyone listen. Together, they balanced each other perfectly. Ethan's creativity built worlds. Ryan's words sold them. Their bond deepened through the years, through sleepless nights studying under dim streetlights, through shared meals when neither could afford lunch, through laughter and small victories that made life bearable. They promised each other that one day, when they made it big, they'd share everything, the success, the wealth, and the recognition. But time has a way of testing promises, especially those made in innocence after college. Both faced the harsh reality of adulthood. Ethan struggled with odd jobs, barely making rent. He spent nights working on prototypes and product ideas, small inventions that could make life easier for ordinary people. Ryan, on the other hand, had a gift for persuasion. He landed a corporate job quickly, using his charm and communication to climb through doors Ethan never even knew existed. Still, they remained friends. At least Ethan believed they did. One evening, as the world outside grew quiet and rain tapped softly against his window, Ethan completed an idea he had been developing for months, a compact, eco-friendly device designed to save household electricity. It was simple yet revolutionary, something that could change the way people used power at home. He stayed up all night refining the design, perfecting the presentation, and preparing to show it to someone who could help him bring it to life. The next morning, he called Ryan. His voice carried the same excitement they had once shared as kids, the spark of discovery, of hope. Ryan agreed to meet him, curious but distracted, his tone casual yet tinged with calculation that Ethan didn't notice. When they met, Ethan shared everything, the sketches, the model, the potential investors he hoped to reach. Ryan listened carefully, nodding, smiling, asking questions that seemed thoughtful but were actually strategic. Ethan mistook it for genuine interest. He didn't see the quiet hunger in Ryan's eyes, the kind that grows when admiration turns into envy. Weeks passed. Ethan submitted proposals to several companies, but none responded. Bills piled up. The electricity-saving device remained just a dream in his cluttered room. He began to lose faith in himself, wondering if he had overestimated his own ideas. And then, one afternoon, as he scrolled aimlessly through his phone, something made his heart stop. A news article. Young entrepreneur Ryan Cole launches innovative green tech startup. Beneath the headline was a photo of Ryan standing proudly beside a sleek product display. Ethan zoomed in, disbelief tightening his chest. The prototype, the same design. His design, the same name he had given it months ago. The words blurred as his breath caught. His hands trembled. It wasn't possible. Not Ryan, not his best friend, but as he read the article, every detail confirmed the truth. Ryan had taken Ethan's idea, presented it as his own, and launched a company that was now gaining national attention. Investors were calling it the next big thing in sustainable tech. Ryan was hailed as a genius, the visionary mind behind the innovation. Ethan sat in silence that night. No anger at first, only disbelief, the kind that breaks something deep inside a person. Memories flashed before him. Two boys laughing under the sun, sketching dreams in old notebooks, promising never to leave each other behind. And now here they were, one rich with stolen success, the other poor with shattered trust. Days turned into weeks. Ethan wanted to confront him, but what could he prove? He had no patents, no witnesses, no strength left. Ryan's charm had already won the world. To everyone else, Ethan was just another bitter nobody, so he stayed quiet. But silence doesn't mean surrender. Ethan began rebuilding himself quietly, channeling the pain into purpose. He refused to let bitterness consume him. He found a small job in a local tech workshop, working late hours, learning more, improving his skills. If the world had taken his first dream, he would build another. This time stronger. This time smarter. Months later, Ryan's startup exploded in popularity. Awards, interviews, fame all followed him. He appeared on talk shows, giving speeches about innovation and perseverance, while the man who had given him everything sat in the back of a dim workshop, fixing other people's machines. The betrayal burned Ethan every day, but so did the determination to rise above it. He started designing again, working in secret on new ideas. What Ryan stole was his product, not his talent, not his heart. And while the world applauded the thief, destiny was already setting the stage for justice, because no lie, no matter how well told, can last forever. One night, Ethan received a call from a local tech exhibition committee. They had heard about his small innovations through someone he had once helped for free. They invited him to display his work at an upcoming regional event, a platform where startups and creators could showcase their inventions to industry leaders. He accepted, unaware that this very exhibition would set the wheels of karma in motion. The same event, weeks later, would also be attended by the man who betrayed him, now celebrated, admired, and ready to receive yet another award for Entrepreneur of the Year. Two paths. Once one were about to meet again, not as friends, but as proof that truth, though delayed, never dies. The world was watching, even if they didn't know it yet. Fame. For Ryan came faster than he ever imagined. His face was everywhere: business magazines, television interviews, motivational podcasts. He was introduced as the self-made innovator who had revolutionized eco-friendly technology. Applause followed him everywhere he went. But applause, though sweet, has a sound that fades. And behind it, silence begins to whisper truths that fame cannot drown. In the beginning, Ryan had convinced himself that what he did wasn't theft, it was opportunity. He told himself that Ethan lacked ambition, that he merely polished the idea and made it marketable. But as the company grew and investors demanded more innovation, Ryan realized something. He had stolen a single idea, not the mind that created it. He had no Ethan anymore. And without Ethan, there were no new ideas. Only recycled words, half-baked plans, and borrowed brilliance. Months passed, and cracks began to appear behind the perfect image. His development team couldn't replicate the efficiency of the original prototype. Customers started complaining that the final product didn't perform as promised. Technical reports revealed flaws, design inconsistencies, overlooked details, things Ethan would never have missed. Ryan's temper grew short. Late nights turned into anxious mornings. Behind the smiles of publicity, there was a man haunted by insecurity and by the memory of the friend he betrayed. But karma has a way of walking silently, waiting for the right moment to arrive. Meanwhile, Ethan continued his quiet journey. At the workshop where he worked, he became known not as the man with bad luck, but as the man with good hands. He fixed things others called broken. He saw potential where others saw waste. People began to notice his precision, his patience, and his creativity. One day, while testing one of his new prototypes, a simple yet clever mechanism designed to optimize solar energy for small homes, a journalist visiting the workshop took interest. She wrote a short piece about a forgotten inventor rebuilding dreams from scratch. The article was published in a local tech newsletter, with a photograph of Ethan holding his invention. It was just one story among hundreds. But destiny often hides in small headlines. That article reached someone on the event committee of the National Innovation Expo, a platform that honored emerging creators each year. Impressed by his ingenuity, they extended an invitation to Ethan, offering him a modest booth to display his work. Ethan accepted, his heart beating with a quiet hope he hadn't felt in years. He didn't care about fame or revenge. He just wanted to show that he still mattered, that his ideas still had life. The day of the expo arrived. The convention center shimmered with lights and banners. Entrepreneurs, investors, engineers, all under one roof. And among the large booths, sponsored by major companies, stood a small, humble stall labeled EC Innovations, Sustainable Living for All. Ethan's display was simple, a solar-powered device that provided affordable energy solutions for rural homes. It wasn't flashy, but it worked perfectly. It was real. Across the hall, in stark contrast, stood a massive stage adorned with banners for Green Era Tech, Ryan's company. A towering digital screen looped his achievements, his interviews, his slogans. And in the center, Ryan himself, rehearsing his acceptance speech for the Entrepreneur of the Year award to be presented that evening. He didn't notice the small booth tucked away in the corner, nor the familiar name on the registration list. Fate, however, had already set the scene. As the day progressed, visitors wandered from one booth to another. Ethan's invention drew quiet but genuine attention. Engineers admired the simplicity of his design. A few journalists took notes, intrigued by his clear explanations and humble demeanor. One of them asked for his full name, Ethan Clark. That name, coincidentally, appeared in the patent registry attached to Ryan's original invention, not as a current holder, but as a concept contributor, listed years before the company was formed. The journalist's curiosity was sparked. She compared the design in Ethan's hands with the old product marketed by Green Era Tech. The similarities were undeniable. The same mechanism, the same energy logic, even the same terminology. The difference? Ethan's model worked better, cleaner, more efficient. A small ripple began to spread through the crowd. Whispers, questions, then murmurs. Someone mentioned the connection to Ryan Cole, the rising entrepreneur who would be speaking later that evening. By the time the expo lights dimmed for the award ceremony, those whispers had reached more than just curious visitors. They had reached the event organizers and, eventually, the sponsors. Ryan stood backstage, smiling at the cameras, unaware of the storm forming outside the curtain. When the ceremony began, applause echoed through the hall. One by one, names were called: innovators, engineers, and entrepreneurs. The announcer's voice carried pride and energy as awards were handed out. Finally, the moment arrived. The Entrepreneur of the Year. Ryan straightened his suit, practiced his smile. Cameras flashed, ready to capture another moment of triumph. But just before the announcer called his name, the stage lights flickered, and a quiet murmur spread through the audience. A member of the committee stepped forward and whispered something to the host. The host paused, his expression uncertain. Ryan felt a strange chill crawl down his spine. The announcement was delayed. The audience waited. Then, in an unexpected turn, the host addressed the crowd. He said that the committee had received new information, credible evidence suggesting that one of the finalists might have presented an idea, originally developed by another individual. They were investigating the claim to ensure fairness before presenting the award. Ryan's smile faltered. He glanced around, eyes darting through the crowd, but it was too dark to see. Only a few faces in the front rows were visible, journalists whispering, sponsors exchanging glances. The air grew heavier with every passing second, and in the back row, sitting quietly, Ethan watched, not with anger, but with calm understanding. Karma had arrived. Slowly, silently, but with purpose. By the end of the ceremony, the award was postponed, pending verification. Ryan left the stage without a word, his hands shaking. Outside, cameras still followed him, but the questions were different now. "Mr. Cole, is it true your original design wasn't your own? Who is Ethan Clark, and what is his connection to your company?" He didn't answer. He couldn't. The empire he built on lies had started to crack. The applause that once filled his days was replaced with doubt and suspicion. And in that moment, amid the confusion, the flashing lights, the murmurs, Ethan turned away quietly, stepping into the cool night air. He had no desire to humiliate. He just wanted peace. But life wasn't done teaching lessons yet. The final act, the true revelation, was still waiting to unfold. The morning after the award ceremony was colder than usual, though the sun shone brightly across the city skyline. Newspapers that once carried Ryan's triumphant smile now printed different words. Innovation scandal at Green Era Tech? Anonymous inventor challenges CEO's claims. Every outlet ran a version of the same story. Someone named Ethan Clark might have been the real creator behind the company's celebrated invention. Social media was flooded with speculation. Some defended Ryan, calling it jealousy. Others demanded truth. Sponsors quietly withdrew upcoming deals, and investors froze their funding. Ryan's empire, built on the illusion of genius, began to collapse under the weight of a single word: proof. He tried to control the narrative. Interviews, press releases, even emotional appeals about partnership misunderstandings. But truth doesn't bend forever. People who had once cheered for him now looked at him with doubt. Even his own employees whispered in corridors, questioning whether the company they worked for had been founded on deceit. The tension reached its peak when the Innovation Committee announced that a public review would be held. Every award, every patent, and every claim made by Green Era Tech would be examined, and both names, Ryan Cole and Ethan Clark, were on the agenda. The hearing was set for 1 week later. Ethan, upon learning this, didn't celebrate. He didn't post, didn't speak to the press, didn't gloat. He went to work like every other day, fixing, creating, thinking. His heart had already moved beyond revenge, but life, in its quiet fairness, often writes endings that balance everything. The night of the hearing arrived. The hall was filled with reporters, industry professionals, and curious onlookers. The stage was simple: a long table, a microphone, and 2 chairs. On one side, Ryan Cole sat with his team of lawyers and publicists. On the other, Ethan sat alone, dressed modestly, his hands resting calmly on a folder that contained his old sketches, dated notebooks, and emails exchanged years ago. Small things he had never thought of as weapons of justice. When his name was called, Ethan stood and walked slowly to the microphone. The hall grew silent. He didn't speak with anger or pride, only with truth. He explained how 2 friends had once shared dreams, how he had trusted someone he considered family, and how those dreams had been taken, reshaped, and sold under another name. He didn't accuse with bitterness. He simply showed. One by one, he laid out his notes, early drafts, timestamps, and concept diagrams. Each page was a piece of the past, a memory inked in sincerity. The evidence was undeniable. Even the committee members exchanged glances, not of suspicion, but of quiet realization. Ryan tried to defend himself, claiming partnership and misunderstanding. But when asked to produce his own early drafts, he faltered. His lawyers looked down, their silence louder than any confession. The hearing ended with calm but clear words. Ethan Clark was to be officially recognized as the original creator and rightful patent holder of the technology. Green Era Tech's awards would be revoked pending reassignment. No shouting, no applause. Just truth, steady, simple, and final. As the audience dispersed, Ryan sat frozen. His phone buzzed with unanswered calls. Investors, board members, sponsors. Everything he had stolen had slipped through his fingers like sand. The brand he built on someone else's dream was crumbling before his eyes. He glanced up once more and saw Ethan leaving the hall quietly. His back turned, walking into the evening light. There was no gloating, no vengeance, only grace. That was the difference between them. One had built an empire on lies. The other had built dignity from pain. In the months that followed, the ripples of that moment spread across the industry. Ethan's invention was reintroduced, this time under his name. Investors approached him, not with greed, but with respect. Yet he didn't rush into grandeur. Instead, he created a small company focused on affordable energy solutions for underprivileged communities. He employed students, local engineers, and small workshop workers, people like the ones who had helped him when he had nothing. He called the company Renewed Light, symbolizing not just sustainable energy, but also redemption. Proof that broken trust can lead to brighter beginnings. As for Ryan, his fall was quiet but steep. The media that once adored him now avoided his name. The company collapsed within a year. He moved away, far from the spotlight, burdened not by poverty but by regret. Yet even in his solitude, he couldn't escape the echo of the past, the sound of Ethan's steady voice that day, the calm truth that stripped him of everything but remorse. 1 year later, a grand event was held, the National Technology Excellence Awards. Among the nominees for Innovation with Purpose was Renewed Light. Ethan attended, though reluctantly. Fame had never been his goal. But this time, his presence wasn't as an invisible inventor. It was as a man whose journey had come full circle. When his name was announced as the winner, the applause was overwhelming. Not because of spectacle, but because of sincerity. People admired not just his creation, but his integrity, his ability to forgive, to rebuild, to rise without bitterness. He walked to the stage slowly, the lights glimmering like memories. And as he held the award, the same kind once stolen from him, he felt no pride, only peace. He looked across the audience and noticed, at the far back, a familiar figure, aged, quiet, and half hidden in the crowd. Ryan. Their eyes met for a fleeting second. Ethan gave a small, almost invisible nod, not of triumph, but of forgiveness, and in that moment Ryan lowered his gaze. A single tear slipping down as the weight of karma finally lifted, not in punishment, but in realization. As the night ended, Ethan stood by the window, the city lights flickering below. He thought of all the years, the pain, the betrayal, and the strange beauty of justice unfolding slowly, silently, perfectly. He understood something profound, and that karma isn't revenge, but restoration. It doesn't destroy. It returns balance. It lets truth breathe again. The boy who once lost everything to betrayal had found something greater. Not fame, not fortune, but freedom. And as the world outside buzzed with stories and headlines, Ethan smiled quietly to himself, whispering in his heart the lesson life had taught him. Dreams can be stolen, but destiny cannot. What is truly yours will always find its way back.